Now, for 7 years, A Step Forward has been a major force in championing gospel music. One of the aims is to support UK Christian and gospel music to reach a generation through digital tools. They have started a multi-genre chart show, and it's all on their platform. It's from R&B to contemporary gospel, from Afrobeats to reggae. And joining me is the founder and operations manager, Mr. O'Neill Dennis. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
Now, congratulations on 7 years, 7 long years. Congratulations.
Long and glorious years.
So
Thank
I know that people are going to ask, are wondering, how did you start? How did you start A Step Forward? .com.
Yes. Thank you. I've said it a few times before. Step Forward started out of the ashes of a previous life. It's a testimony thing, which will probably take more time than we have. But the short version of it is that it's a testimony. It became personal. I had to, those moments when you have a kind of Saul Paul situation where you have to dig deep and start from scratch, and everything previous you lose, and you have to really just build yourself over again, or allow God's grace to work through you to redevelop you, and that's really how Step Forward started. For me, it's a personal thing in the sense that it's a reminder that I need to take a step forward in faith every day. The Bible speaks about renewing of our minds and stuff on a daily basis. So that's the personal reminder for me. But on a wider level, it's just a movement that is allowing us to all grow together and walk together in faith, putting our faith into action, and that's the whole premise. So that's kind of how we started. It's something that happened in my life personally that kind of caused me to have to dig deep. Music became my bedrock, my foundation during those tough moments, and that allowed me to really find ways and means to help and to support others around me, UK artists and stuff like that. So yeah, that's a short story.
I know when you started, you were primarily just giving gospel news or Christian music news, and now today, you have charts, and you have a multi-genre chart going on your platform. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes. So as I said, when it started, the whole premise was around trying to support music, or trying to support creativity. So what happened, I remember having traveled around quite a bit when I just got saved, at that was mid 2013, and trying to understand what was going on in the scene, trying to kind of come to grips with where things were at. I kept hearing, lots of people saying that, where are the young people? They're not in the church, they're out there. I kept just wanting to understand a little bit more, and I ended up going to an event in Earl's Court, and that was a Pentecost event. And that's when I saw almost 10,000, what we would say, young people in that space. There wasn't any major artists or anything. It was just 3 worship teams from 3 churches, but there were 10,000. The place was packed out. And that was transforming for me, because that made me realize that, there was a lot going on, but if you were only focused on the 4 walls of the church, you were going to miss it. Right. And that really was the essence of Step Forward. It was about stepping out in faith into the marketplace, doing the work that we need to do, and using the tools and the mechanisms that were available. For me, music was one of those main things. I've been a music lover all my life. And that just made sense for me to pick up on those aspects. So from that, we started Step Forward. That was a website out of all the savings I had in, and that kind of, within 6 months, we outgrew the platform. There was just so much activity going on in the UK, and I started traveling around with my camera that I managed to scrape some monies together for, with help from some individuals, and that just made me even more aware of the abundance of creativity and talent out there, and the amazing work that was going on. So we literally, within within 6 months, we outgrew the platform. And then by March 2014, we also started the UK Christian chart. Because at that time, in traveling around the country, I was hearing other words like North South divide and disunity and fragmentation and all of that. And I'm like,
Mm.
what is going on? We just needed to have more places, more platforms, if you will, where the music could be showcased. Because I was coming in not having anything in terms of a background for Christian and gospel music. So I was coming in fresh. I didn't know who the artists were. I didn't know anybody in the Christian and gospel music scene at the time. So I was learning all these names and understanding different things. And I remember one of the things I tried to do was when I was traveling around, just to get a better understanding, I was asking everybody, so who are your top three artists then in the UK? And people were giving me American names and stuff, which wasn't a bad thing. It was just not what I was asking for.
Mm.
That made me realize that a lot of what was to be celebrated in the UK, people just weren't aware for whatever reason. There just wasn't enough awareness, and that triggered me a little bit, because I'm like, we need to celebrate the sounds in your own backyard. You need to celebrate the sounds in your communities, in your local society. We need to celebrate everyone, but how much more relevant is the sound that's around you, the stories, and all the different things that go with that. So that really was the push to get the charts off the ground. And thankfully, 6 years on last year, we realized that we were having so much music coming through now that we needed to break things up. We needed to diversify the output and the input. So we developed a multi-chart system. So going from one main top 10 or top 20 to 12 different charting systems or genres or categories.
You spoke about getting saved in 2013, mid 2013, and then a year later you're starting the charts. Now, what type of spiritual support did you have? Because it must have been quite challenging for you to jump into something which was life-changing for you, and then doing something life-changing for for the community, for the gospel community. So what type of support did you have?
Well, our local church, I go to a church in Croydon called Redemption Faith Worship Center. And like my second mom, she's a pastor. So that you're kind of rooted and grounded. My sister is also one of the directors for Step Forward. She's a Christian. She's a worship leader. Runs the youth department and stuff. So that also keeps you rooted and grounded, because she is. My brother-in-law is now a minister. So there was that support there locally. And in addition to that, to be honest, I'm very much always about networking and collaborating. So when I just started, as I said, I didn't know anyone, so I reached out to everyone, right? As many as I came across the names, I'm like, hey, this is who I am. This is what I'm trying to do. Any advice, any suggestions? So I remember those days I reached out to people like Marcia Dixon, Yinka, from UK Gospel. There was a few others as well. Mike Rimmer, from up in the Midlands, just all these individuals. As I came across the names, I reached out. Isaiah Raymond, and everybody was just really supportive, really welcoming, giving tips and advice. Even Marcia Dixon, when I spoke to her first, she was the one who gave the advice for the very first event I ever put on, which is in December 2013, when I called as many individuals as I could to say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do with a UK Christian chart. And that was at King's College. If it wasn't for Marcia's suggestion as to the best way to go about that, I wouldn't have done it, because I wouldn't have known what to do in respect to the Christian gospel community. So there's been nothing but love. And that's something I'm really, really grateful for 7 years, ever since I came in. I think that is one of the bedrocks for me, one of the little things that really is a big thing. I say it's a little, but it's the one thing that kept me going, because there was just so much love. There's so much support. People like Noel Robinson, who have become like a big brother, just really supporting and encouraging all the way through. And all the individuals I've met, the support from my church, and probably even more importantly, just the knowledge that this is something I felt called to do. it was just that call of God to say, okay, fine, whatever you've been through has probably led you to this point. All the mistakes of the past, all the successes, or whatever it is, it's led you to this point. So I didn't think of what we're going to do 5 years down the line or 7 years down the line. I just knew that, what, each day I needed to put some work in to do what I've been called to do. And that really was the focus. It wasn't a big vision then. It was, no, you need to take a step forward every single day to get closer to God and to continue doing what He's called you to do. So it was literally step by step, step by step.
So what challenges have you had or met on the way since starting A Step Forward?
How much time do you have? um, there's been challenges, as with anything in life when you're trying to get something off the ground. Again, thankfully, we've been blessed with a strong volunteering team. From day one, we had a lot of people who wanted to stand with the project, wanted to stand with a vision. So that was a blessing, but also a challenge in that volunteers, everybody has their own priorities, things going on. So sometimes commitment is always going to be an issue when you're working with volunteers. But thankfully, we keep on, God's grace just keeps on helping us with that. Challenges was in the fact that I didn't have the background. I didn't know the people who were the doers and shakers, the influencers and stuff. So I had to learn that. And with relationships, they take time, to build and stuff. So I've had to be patient in terms of building those relationships. There was challenges. There always is a challenge around resources, which is why we're doing the Just Giving that we're doing now, because when you have no monies, when you have no capital to start a business, it's always going to be difficult in terms of, just how do you resource that project. But all in all, I would say that we've been blessed far more than we've been challenged. And that's just God's grace on what He's called us to do. And we have two simple objectives. It's one, to bridge the genre divide that exists in the UK. For starters, where if you're Black, you're predisposed for gospel, and if you're white, you're predisposed to CCM. That's something that we feel called to do. That's one of our objectives. And the second objective is to help to bridge the multi-generational gap that exists, where if you're older, you think the younger people don't really want to hear you and stuff. So, you just let them get on with it. And if you're younger, you're thinking, well, the older people haven't really done as much, even though they may have, but you just don't know. So we're just going to get on with it ourselves. We're pretty much in the middle, as I tend to say, in between spaces, right? Just doing what God has called us to do. And those are the two simple things. Those were the mandates He gave me. Straight up. No, nothing else. That's it. But that is so all-encompassing. It's just so much work. And thankfully, even with the challenges, we've still managed to stand strong, knowing that the blessings are far outweigh.
So do you have any testimonies of success? Any testimonies of success within the last 7 years?
I can give you one within the last 3 months.
Go for it.
We were having a challenge in terms of an event that we were putting on recently. Some things we wanted to do, and we didn't have the funds for it any at all. And I've never in my life, we've done some big events, but this is the first time I didn't have a production set up the week of the event. So, people say you need a good 3 months at minimum to plan and to get things in place and stuff. The week of the event, this is the Monday, the event is on Saturday. We didn't have a production set up. We didn't know how we were going to deliver on the event. It went on to the Wednesday, still didn't have anything set because we didn't have the monies to do it. We were just trying, the event came together within 2 weeks. We felt that God was saying, you needed to do this, but we just didn't see where the funds was going to come in from. The Wednesday morning, I laid the case out to them, and I was just saying, what do you think we should do? This is what I'm thinking, but we don't have the funds for it. And if we do it, I don't know where the money is going to come from. But just based on the quality of the event, just based on what we felt God was saying and how the event had come together in the first place, we felt, what, we're going to have to take a step of faith here. It's our slogan, faith in action. Well, we're going to have to make faith the action, right? So we made the call. We said, okay, fine. We're going to go ahead with the production setup. We had the cost. We knew we didn't have the monies, not even close to the monies to do it. Within the same day, right after I made that call, I went to see my second mother, because as I said, I'm the admin for our church. So I went down there because she needed some tithe envelopes to be printed, right? As, as I was printing the tithing envelopes up, I got a call. And this was from a gentleman that I'd met like a year and a half before. And he had become a friend over the time. So he called up and he was asking how things were going. And I was just joking with him. And it was just good to talk to a friend. And I was just saying, man, things are a bit tough, but hey, we're cracking on, we're pushing on and stuff. And he listened and he listened. And then afterwards he said, okay, you know what? Everything you said, just, it's perfect. Because I was talking to my son, and we wanted to gift you £5,000.
Wow.
And I'm like, what? What? And I got so emotional, I couldn't even finish the conversation with him. Some people might look, those people who are, operate in big spaces and stuff might look and say, 5,000 is just fine. That's not much. But for us, that was more than 2.5 times what we needed
Wow.
to do the production for that event. Right. And out of the blue, I had no conversations with him before that about the event. That was the first time I was speaking to him. But God had actually put that in place before we even knew what was going on. Right. They were having conversations that we had no idea of. Right. And he said to me, after all you've shared, just wanted you to know as well that if you needed some money to pay down straight away on this thing, you know what, don't worry about it. Just let me know and we can sort it out. And it was just in a moment, in an instant, that fear, that I wouldn't say fear, but that doubt about what we're going to do. God, we've been praying to you. You're the one who put it in place to do this event, but we don't have the means. That was just taken away in a moment. And I think that was the reminder for me that God is the God of endless possibilities, and He can change your situation in an instant. You know, and whether we can see it or not, it doesn't take away from His power and his ability to just move in your life, in your situation, and just wipe away every doubt, every fear, every instance of whatever it is. He can just turn the whole thing around just like that. So
Wow.
that is one of the more recent stories, but that is something that I will be talking about for the rest of my life. Just knowing how stressed it was in that week of the event, because that was new for me. In not having anything having everything else in place except the one thing, because we didn't have the resources and the monies. So yeah,
Wow. God is always, He's amazing.
yes,
God
yes.
is amazing. And he may not come when you want him to, but he will come
You can
on
always
time.
count on time. Always,
On time.
always,
That's a great testimony. Now,
always.
I'm so pleased and excited to announce that Afternoons with Ibe on Premier Gospel and AStepFWD.com have got together to produce the R&B chart show, which is happening every first Monday of the month. And that's exciting. That is a step forward in
Oh
so
yeah.
many ways. But what do you see? What do you hope to see in the next 7 years of A Step Forward?
Wow. Wow. I think what is happening in the UK is pretty amazing at the moment. There's a coming together like I've not seen in 7 years, right? There's a unifying, there's a connection that I find really incredible, and it just speaks to God moving in and amongst His people. So I'm really excited. We are seeing more music than we have ever seen before. We're talking about 120 tracks month. That's significant. That's 4 new releases every single day, right? So what from all I'm seeing, it's like God, it's like the UK's time has come, and that's significant in the sense that there's so many people who have been doing music for so long, and to know that the infrastructure is getting sorted, to know that the development and the artistry is getting sorted, to know that the platform or the infrastructural systems in terms of media is getting sorted and everything is improving. That's great. That is that is just such an encouragement. And I just want to encourage anybody out there who is in any creative ministry and so just to say, you know what, just keep doing what you're doing because God is at work, whether we see it or not, whether we recognize it or not. His hand is always moving, his hand is always there. So for the next 7 years, where Step Forward is concerned, I'd like to see us, I'd like to see the UK Christian chart become a system that has the data behind it, even more so than we do now. I'd want to see it become a system similar to the Billboard charts or similar to the official charts, where we're able to collect the sales data and be able to process that as well, to be able to gauge and understand what is really happening in the scene. I'd like to see us be better able to support the artists, you know, the creatives, in terms of not just ourselves as a platform, but I'd like to see a lot more platforms develop across the UK, radio, television, you know, bloggers, influencers, you name it. And we're already seeing that happening. I want to see more of that because there's so many people doing some amazing, amazing work. I think there's room for more even. And in general, I just want to see us come together like we haven't before and just celebrate each other because there's strength in unity. And you know, it's just a reminder across the weekend of, you know, Jabez and that story about, you know, praying that God will enlarge territory and he will, you know, just bless us and stuff. And I think that resonated with me over the weekend. That's been the one thing that's been stuck on my mind. And I've been praying, say, God, not I'm not praying for him to enlarge a step forwards territory. I'm praying for him to enlarge our territory. So all those people who are invested in the scene, the artists, the creatives, the musicians, I'm just praying that God continues to enlarge our territory, so that we might be a blessing to others, because that really is the heart of it. You know, we are asking him, like Jabez, to bless us, not just so that we can keep the blessing, but that we can be a blessing to others. And that's the prayer for the next 7 years, really.
Hallelujah. Come on. So, um, how can people connect with you in regards to submitting songs into the charts?
Very easy on our website, astepforward.com. That's astepfwd.com. There's a submissions button at the very top in our menu. So that's pretty simple for everyone to do. There, they can literally just follow the instructions and fill out the form that comes into us directly. Everything that comes into us, our team, our admin and the guys who run the UK Christian chart, Elijah and his volunteers, they will work to get the music on our website. So it's not even just about a charting system. Step Forward is a support system. So whether you're in the chart or not, whether you're in this country or not, we're still aiming to support you. So we try to publish as many things, almost everything that comes into us. I dare say a huge percentage of that gets published on the website, whether it ends up in the UK Christian chart or not. So we're all about supporting. On our socials, there's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, A Step Forward, or YouTube channel or Spotify channel. All of these mechanisms are there. And just to say as well that on our website, if when you go to our website, there's advertise options. That's how we balance out. So if you're wanting to see us continue to support the work that you're doing, then please see if you can find any ways and means to advertise. And also, in addition to that, we're always looking for volunteers. So if you've been anything that you've heard, anything that you've seen us do, and you want to get involved, get to be a part of that, be the change that you seek, we are always welcoming volunteers. And finally, we're on this crazy mission to raise £56,500. So if again you've been blessed by if you've been blessed by music, then just please with us. It's Just Giving. It's a Play It Forward campaign, and we're simply encouraging everyone to play it forward. We've all been blessed. Let's be a blessing to others. Let's keep the blessing of music alive. So just when on Just Giving, search Play It FWD, Play It Forward, and just support us in any way you can.
O'Neill Dennis, thank you so much, and we really pray for consistent partnerships for
Thank you.
AStepFWD.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate you.
Premier Gospel.